Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith, and today I'm excited to be unboxing Anachrony. Now this is a game that has been around for quite some time and is very popular in the solo community. This comes from Mindclash Games, and what's even more exciting and timely, hopefully, about this unboxing is that on April the 16th, which is just coming around the corner here, there is going to be a release of a deluxe edition of Anachrony with an upgrade pack, a redesigned solo mode compatible with the expansion, a new worker type, new game mechanics, buildings, super projects, and all kinds of extra stuff, probably based on whether or not the stretch goals get landed or not. But still, there is a lot to be excited about for Anachrony, and this is a highly rated game. Anachrony currently sits in the 54th position overall. That's overall all board games in general, and that's extremely high up the rank. And on top of that, in the strategy category on Board Game Geek, it ranks 37. So if you're looking for a solo game that's based in a sci-fi background, this is exactly the type of game you're going to be wanting to dig your teeth into. So without further ado, how will we take this gigantic box, which it really truly is quite large, and flip this thing over on its back? We'll read more about what this game is all about, also see some of the components on the exterior of the box, then we're going to take the cover off this thing and find out what's inside. And here is the exterior of the box. On the back it says Anachrony, command mighty exosuits, traverse the time rifts, and lead your path through a cataclysmic future in this epic sci-fi board game. It is the late 26th century, and Earth is recovering from a catastrophic explosion that exterminated the majority of the population and made most of the surface uninhabitable. The surviving humans organize themselves along four radically different ideologies: harmony, dominance, progress, and salvation. Followers of the four paths live in a fragile peace, living in almost complete isolation next to each other. Now an even more terrible cataclysm is looming on the horizon. An asteroid is heading towards Earth. The time travel technology discovered in the wake of the old cataclysm is the best way to prepare for the impending impact, and it is up to the leaders if they see it as the threat or if they see it as potential. Now up in the top right hand corner of the box, it mentions a couple features of the game. It has two-tiered worker placement with workers piloting exosuits. It has unique worker management system with four different types of workers, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Turning point in gameplay, for which players need to prepare and adjust their strategy. Four radically different factions, each with four different variations to play. That's awesome. Huge replayability thanks to the variable player powers and the countless ways to victory. Great potential for player interaction with a chance for temporary cooperation. Again, I'm looking at this from the solo perspective, so that key doesn't matter as much for me here. Engaging science fiction world with a vivid backstory available to read at their website, which is actually kind of cool that you can follow up on a backstory. Now let's talk about a couple other modules that come inside of this game. So we have four modules listed on the back of the box as well. Right here we have the Chrono Bot, which is the solo play variant. This is what I'm really interested in. And again, a lot of you guys may have already played this game. It's been out for some time. But those of you in the solo community that are new to this one, this is one of the reasons why I'm featuring it on the channel. It does come with a variant, which is considered one of these particular modules you can add into the game, and allowing for fantastic solo play, which is highly ranked on Board Game Geek as well. Right here we have realistic water drops and resource cubes. So in terms of components, it's going to have that Kickstarter feel where the box is going to have those types of components in it. And that's even true if you're picking this game up at retail, which is really cool. 6 custom dice right here on the far right, and then a Domesday module, which is a whole other module that I believe can be added or taken away depending on whether or not you choose to implement it. All right, so when you first crack open the box to Anachrony, you're going to be greeted with two rule books. Of course, you got two different languages here, and the one I'm going to be focusing on is the one on the left. So I'll take this rule book, remove it from the scene for a second. I'm also going to flip this rule book over because I want to show you guys that there's a really handy icons explained on the back here, which is great when you're playing the game and you want quick, easy reference of what some of these icons mean. Very useful no matter what board game you're talking about. In terms of how many pages this one comes in at, it looks like it's 34 pages back to the credits page at the far end, and we'll take a quick look at the front page of the rulebook to get an idea of the components in this one. That's one of the coolest things about this game is the component quality is very, very high. Mindclash has a really good reputation for going the extra mile on their components, and the presentation of the rulebook itself is also really nice. Again, you've got a story so far section here. We talked about this earlier on the back of the box. You can head to their website where they have more detail in terms of the backstory of Anachrony, but that's up to you to discover. We've got the general setup over here on the right, which looks like it runs from the first step to the 11th step, and then all the way through to the 16th step, and then you've got the game set up. Your game overview goes through here, and what I'm going to be interested to see is whether or not the solo implementation for this one is going to be additional rules that are added on to what you already learned from the main game, and at the end of the rulebook, or maybe they're somewhere mixed in between. But I'm going to give you a good idea of some of the pages and the layout and structure of this rulebook. So hopefully this is helping you guys out. At the very end here we got like ending of the game, frequently overlooked rules. Here's the Domesday module. This might be just a bit off screen. Again, there's quite a bit going on here. The Domesday module is up here, and literally this will explain that module, which brings in a board. You can choose to play with or without this, but I think that'll add quite a bit. There we go. The one player mode, the Chrono Bot. So there is the page, talks about the changes and setup. So I'm already liking this already because it has a designated page. It also mentions how the setup is different from the setup for the regular game. Paradox phase, power up phase, warp phase, and your action round phase. So I'm guessing tweaks to each one of those and how they're handled. There might be some things that are totally specific to just solo, but it looks like it's not just a single page. There's some actual work done here, if I'm not mistaken. This is actually 2 to 3 pages long. It has some really good illustrations on how to play this thing. So happy about that. It shouldn't be too hard to pick that up once I understand the main game rules. You got some optional rules at the back of the rulebook, and that pretty much sums it up. So hopefully that gives you a good idea as to the rulebook. Wow, what an absolutely beautiful game board. This is actually a double-sided board. So on this side, up in the very top right-hand corner, you can see 2-player and 3-player icons. If I was to flip this thing over, then it has a setup for the 4th player. So you can see everything going on here. Definitely not going to try to describe the icons that I'm seeing because I'm unboxing this for the first time, but I am going to flip this over so you guys can see the differences between each side of this game board. And here is a look at the opposite side of the game board. Just for reference, again, in the top right hand corner, it mentions 4 players. So again, I'm not going to go over any icons here, but I definitely want to move along here with the player boards and some of the other boards that come inside this box. Now this next board, if I'm not mistaken, is the Domesday module board. So this will come into play if you choose to hook that module into your game. If you do, then you're able to use this board, and then it's going to bring into account a bunch of new mechanics and things you're going to have to track. And this board is where you're going to do just that. You can see there is some artwork on this one, not as heavy as the game board itself, but there's lots of icons everywhere. So again, you'll be referencing the back of the rulebook quite a bit to learn those icons, but I've heard that learning is well worth it. Let's move on to the next board. All right, so that's where the artwork is really going to start shining here, is in these faction boards, I'm assuming that they are called. There's 4 of them here, and they're all beautifully illustrated, although there's a lot going on too. So as I mentioned earlier, the icons are kind of all over the place. They make perfect sense once you understand the game, but just looking at it, it can look very complex. But that's what the rulebook is for, is meant to help you out there. Now, what you can see here is one of the factions. I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the other ones. You'll also notice in the top right hand corner there is an A. That's because these faction boards are double-sided. There's also another side. Now, I don't know the differences between the A and B side. That could have to do with solo, being that it would make sense there might be a different side, but it also could have to do with different player counts. So I don't want to say that just yet until I know that, but what I will do is show you guys the rest of the boards here. So here is another faction board that you can potentially use when you're playing. Again, Artwork is awesome. Absolutely love it. Again, very different when you come into the next faction. I absolutely love the look of this stuff. It looks so cool. And, oh, I might have actually been mistaken. There might be 5 here, but I don't think the last one that I'm about to pull next is a board that has to do with the factions. I think this one might be completely separate and maybe used all the time. May even be for the enemies. I'm not 100% sure, but this is a board that doesn't have... that looks very, very different than anything else. So as you can see, just lots and lots of icons across these boards. But the artwork, if you go past it and look behind it, it's really gorgeous. And they did a great job on that. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at 1 or 2 final small cardboard pieces that came in the box. And then it looks like the tokens are next up. So here's a look at some of the really smaller cardboard pieces that came in here that, again, I'm not too sure where they exactly sit, although this one looks like something really nasty has either happened and possibly hit that spire that was up in the sky from the main game board. I'm not 100% sure, but we got 3 different path of the dominance, path of harmony, and path of progress. So again, relating back to all those different options you can choose to play as. And lastly, we've got path of salvation. Again, artwork across them looks fantastic. It really is eye-catching, and I can imagine what this thing looks like on the table. I'm already super excited to see more of it, and we're not even through the first major layer of this box. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this stuff and start looking at the tokens. So we're going to go through these token sheets one by one because there is quite a bit of them. So here is the first one. We've seen a few of these just from a glance. Again, I won't speak to any of this because there's just too much going on here to understand from an unboxing standpoint. But you've got one giant token board. A next one here is similar in look, but I imagine there's quite a bit of differences there in terms of the tokens and the illustrations. Yes, I'm already seeing some specific to factions and things like that. So another one like that. And actually, without even really trying, I've already popped out a couple of the tokens, so they're definitely pre-cut really well. You won't have any issues getting them out. These might be 1 per faction, the way they're going here. They kind of look like that's essentially the idea. So there's really quite a bit of tokens per faction. So we got, this is the 4th sheet now. And here we go. We're getting into some other ones here. This is really crazy. There's so much. I'm really surprised. I actually didn't think this one would have as many punch boards as it does, but with the box size that this thing is, kind of not surprised anymore. There is a lot here, so you will be punching for a little bit. Really cool though. Like, I love the art style and all this stuff. It looks so good. So I really hope this is coming across on the video as nice as it looks in front of me. But these punch boards just keep on coming. There's this one and one more underneath of it. Really glad that I'm not explaining every single one of these to you guys because we would be here for probably half an hour. And this last one, it looks, there you go, this is an example of how great the, and how easy these tokens are going to be to punch out. The last one had some hollow spots in the box, so things kind of sunk straight through. Again, totally okay with that. I'd much rather see tokens come out than be totally wedged in there to the point that you damage them on when you're trying to pop them out. Another nice thing to see is there actually is space at the bottom of this box, which is nice, which means once I get all this stuff punched, there's room to actually store the game back in here without having to cram it all in. This insert inside is a very, very regular cardboard insert, so you could toss this potentially to gain even more space. You got yourself a Ziploc bag and then a bunch of Ziploc bags inside of it, so that's awesome. I love seeing that. Don't have to bother grabbing it myself. We've got ourselves some fancy components. Again, I talked to you about those. They're really nice looking. We're going to look at them close up in a second. Some dice, custom made dice, some small cards here, a couple tokens again that fell out, a bag of standees. Looks like there's a notepad. Kind of surprised by that. Didn't realize there would be a notepad involved, but there is. Looks like we got a pack of cards, but not a massive pack of cards. Fairly small. So we should be able to go through those pretty easily. And another one, just like this. And then there's some tokens kind of strewn around from that punch board. So how about we go ahead and take a look at some of the sealed components, maybe a little closer up. So how about we take a look at these beautiful dice, because everybody loves custom dice. I can tell you guys, these dice are really high quality. Like, they feel super nice in the hand, and they're also really glossy. I noticed that when I picked them up right away, they just have a really nice finish on them that feels much more polished than some of the dice that I've seen in games that I've even opened recently. So these are really, really nice. So I'm very, very happy with those. So here is a deck of small cards. It's got a whole bunch of emblems across the back of these small cards. Again, I'm not going to be able to speak to any of this, except that I know that one of them, the top one right here, is the Anachrony logo itself. So the rest could not tell you. But I'm going to flip these over so we can actually see these cards on the opposite side to see roughly the graphics and how they look. Again, not going to be able to tell you too much, but you can see icons everywhere, which I'm sure will relate right back to some of the components like the cubes we have yet to take a look at, but we're on the game boards. So these are probably all action type cards, or maybe they're bonuses, or who knows. But I'm sure some of you guys out there that have played Anachrony before already know this. Those that don't, this is all new to you as well. So very, very cool. Whole bunch of them, and again, that pretty much sums up that deck. So we have more to look at here. We also have the right hand side. We already took a quick look at this notepad, but I will bring it up just a bit closer so you guys can actually see it. Looks like it does keep track of a number of different things, and it likely has to do with your score at the end. And again, it's got probably some of the faction icons in there that I'm not familiar with just yet, but it's got a pad of those. That's probably about 25 sheets deep or so, roughly around there. Now my guess here is at some point we're going to run across some of these cards, and they're going to have to do with that Domesday module probably. I won't even know which ones they are. It could be these ones, to be honest. And you guys can let me know in the comments below if you've already played before. We've got outback mapping. So again, some nice artwork even on the cards themselves. Timeline protection doctrine. It's pretty cool. I'll give you guys a closer look by getting a little bit closer to the camera here. Colony coordination protocol. Resistant genotype. Loving the artwork, looking pretty cool. Looks just as good as the game boards, and it's very uniform. Another thing I like is when, again, the same artist kind of works on everything here, or at least same artists, if there was multiple in this case, but very happy about that. Yeah, it's looking really nice. Some of these cards have some serious pop to them for sure. I like it a lot. Now, I'm not going to remember exactly which one was the first one that came out. I think it was this one here, actually. Yes, this outback mapping was. So we've gone through all of those at this point. Now, these cards are actually quite a bit bigger than a standard sized card. They're actually a little bit wider, it looks like. So we've got ones here for game phases. So preparation, paradox, power up, warp, action rounds, and cleanup. I think I saw most of these on the solo section, actually, when we were talking about that as well. We got some cards here, maybe specific to the faction or players that you are. Who knows? Maybe there's a leader for each or something with specific abilities that you gain. But these are the character cards, would be my guess. Looking at the back, it kind of makes sense. It looks like it pairs itself with a faction. Pretty cool, liking this. So everybody gets their own reference sheet, and then it's got other languages involved as well, which is great. I'm liking the artwork here too. So that's pretty awesome. And there might be, is there 2 per faction, or am I just going crazy? There might be 2 per faction, I think. But yeah, that was pretty awesome. So there might be 2 per faction just based on how many there was there. It's kind of makes sense. Not 100% sure, but I guess I'll find out soon enough. Lastly, we've got a whole bunch of these square cubes to go through. And this pack contains a whole bunch of them. So you've got some that are yellow. You've got some here that are purple. You've got some water drops. So some actual water drops. I'm guessing this is referencing water. So that's cool. Again, it's getting into just going the extra mile on the components besides just putting in a square. They actually have some nice shiny tokens to represent the water. So it even looks like water, just the way it glistens. That's really awesome. If that's the case, that's pretty cool. So these are all just typical acrylic see-through cubes, but they are nice and much nicer than wooden cubes. I always prefer kind of the look of these acrylic ones more for some weird reason. Purple, yellow, green, and we've got some black ones here. Even the black ones are transparent as well. And then finally here we've got, oh, look at that, some light blue ones to look at as well. So I might as well take a quick look at those. Similar to the dark blue ones. So maybe one of these are water and one of these represents something else. I could be wrong, but these ones are certainly bright as well. Looking pretty awesome. That has got some serious sparkle to it. Okay, so that is it. That is going to cover the entirety of Anachrony. I'm really excited for this one. I've heard so many good things on the solo game for this one. So this is cool because it's not normal that a game that's this well established and well liked in the solo community is something I haven't seen before. Not that I didn't know it existed, but I just never got around to taking a look at this thing. And I'm already very impressed by what I'm seeing in the box. So who knows, when this Kickstarter lands coming up soon here in April, I'm going to be probably a lot more excited than I would have been if I hadn't opened this box already. So this is really, really cool. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully this helps you see the components that you would get inside the box, gets you a rough idea as to what's going on, although I couldn't explain any of the rules here in this video, but this was an unboxing, so you can see all the components. Hopefully it's informative for you, and as always, guys, keep on rolling solo.